Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 410. Meeple Nation, February 2022 news.
Welcome, citizens of Meeple Nation. For the next 30 minutes, sit back and enjoy.
Meeple Nation is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. Go to their website, check out what they have. They have toppers to beautify and upgrade your game rooms. They have accessories for those toppers, cup holders, dice towers, beautiful mats.
Hey, Andy.
Yes.
Do you want to tell me? Yes,
I do.
Do you want to tell me about how excited you were when you got your shipping notification?
I was very excited, Logan, when I got my shipping notification. So check them out. They have beautiful things, beautiful products, and high quality.
Welcome to Meeple Nation. We are your hosts. I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holliday.
I'm Logan Howard.
And I am Andy Holliday.
Go check out our webpage, meeplenation.com. We have blogs, photos, links to our past episodes. We have links to every episode that has been released. We also have bios that you can check out all of us, all of our bloggers, and get an insight into us. You can email us at meeplenation@gmail.com. And now you can also join us on Patreon. If you like what we do, please, we would love your support. Reach out to our webpage. There's a link to our Patreon page right there. Give us some support. Definitely want to thank our first Patreon supporter, and that's Jody from Salisbury, North Carolina. So we would love to thank Jody for the support. Thank you. More support.
Thank you very much, Jody. We really appreciate it. This week, we are going to discuss February news. January was a great month for games. Generally, we like to start off talking a little bit about our highlights, hopefully not have it take up the entire show. So I'm going to be quick with mine. Highlights first and foremost, I had a wonderful time at BryceCon. The hotel, the Ruby's Inn, was super great. It was great. They were wonderful. Got to play a bunch of games. Some of my highlights there, Medium, which was a new game to me. I think Will brought that down from Seattle. Not the typical kind of game that I like, but I loved this game. I really had a lot of fun with it.
My favorite part of Medium was while Andy and I were playing Harry Potter, there was this quiet moment, and all we hear is this, both Nathan and Dave, Fuddruckers. And all of a sudden we hear the, what?
So if you don't know what Medium is, it's a game where you're trying to get into each other's minds. You score points based on the people that you are sitting next to. So the person on your right, you and that person will each take a turn to get into each other's minds and say the same word. You'll each play a card with a word on it. They'll play a card looking at yours to determine cards and play another word, hoping that those two words together, you and he will be able to get into each other's minds. On the count of 3, say the same word. And then if you do the first try, you take a point token that can be worth 5, 6 points. If you miss the first try, you no longer look at the cards, the words on the cards. You use the words that each of you individually said and try and come up with the same word as your partner. And you get fewer points. Essentially, you get 3 total tries. I sent Nathan a text because he was sitting to my right. We were playing with my wife, with Noodles, and Lydia. I sent Nathan a text message. Just one word. I just sent him Fuddruckers, hoping that he would. But this was really hard for me too because I was hoping that he would get that I was trying to say, hey, let's say this as our word out of nowhere to blow their minds, right? Like, I was actually really afraid he wasn't going to get it and that I was going to say Fuddruckers and he was going to say something else and we're going to be way far apart. We got into each other's minds, counted down, and then we both Fuddruckers. And yeah, Logan's right. The rest of the people playing with us were like, what on earth?
The clues had nothing to do with anything
Right.
that would be associated with food, restaurant, or anything. Oh, no, I think mine was mustard. So mine did say mustard, but that was like the only food-related.
It was hilarious. It was a really, really good game. We laughed a lot during that game.
We laughed a lot that night.
We played several games that, again, not my typical cup of tea.
I was actually worried about not only Nathan's health, but your wife's, Adrian, and Lydia's health. There was so much laughing, I didn't know where they were breathing.
Yeah, Adrian was struggling, and I thought we were going to have cleanup on aisle 3 a couple of times. So
I'm sure she will appreciate that.
we also played a game called So Clover that I really, really enjoyed. That's one that I want to get as well. That was a really great game as well. I loved having Adrian at the con with me. It was amazing. And then I loved Nola came up, again, Noodles, came up from Cedar City, played with us a couple of games late Saturday night, spent the night with us, and then we went hiking on Sunday. It was great to play with Will again. I was really super excited that he came down with us. The last highlight on my list was Red Rising. I was really excited to play that again and to teach that. I discovered that I'm probably just a horrible teacher. That's my takeaway. I think it's a really good game. It's a good game that everybody else complained about the entire time, so I must not have been too good a teacher.
I believe you were complaining about it the whole time.
It's like you didn't know white was part of the color scheme of the game.
Several white cards have been played.
Because not at that point there hadn't been.
Yes, they had.
Yeah, they had it.
And you
Okay,
played
there
the
might have
game
been.
before.
But some of us can only remember things for 30 seconds.
I should have put that on my.
Last month / this month, the con, I mean, obviously, it was my first time going to BryceCon. I thoroughly loved it. The drive felt slightly too long, but it was thoroughly great to have Nathan and Will to keep me company. A whole bunch of games played. We played with Doug and Lydia, played Sinister 6, as well as several other games, which one of the first times I was worried about Nathan's health was the first night, before the actual con started with Stefan and Brianna. I think this was their first BryceCon as well, if I remember talking to them, and they went to one SaltCon before COVID. But they were thoroughly excited to come, so hopefully we'll see them at this next SaltCon coming up. It was fantastic. That's one of my favorite things about cons, especially with the environment and the people that we have come to the ones in Utah. We're so willing just to sit down and play with people that we don't know. It's a fantastic thing to have, really. I thoroughly enjoy that. Watching Nathan struggle to breathe, that's like a highlight of any day. So there you go.
That's when you know it's a great night, when you're laughing so hard that you forget to breathe. I was trying to figure out what we played with him. It was so funny.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Cockroach Poker
Because we made Lydia play Cockroach
yeah, we made
Poker.
Lydia played, and she already had vowed that she would never play with me again because I was too conniving. And we made her play with us. It was just hilarious. There was the one time where we passed the card. I think it was Will. It was like, this is a cockroach. He's like, cool.
The card was passed to Will, and he just grabs it and flips it up, and it's like, sick! And we're like, what does that mean? Out of the game rules altogether. And he's like, I guess it's mine now then. I always enjoy playing Cockroach Poker. I think it's a great filler game. It's a great fun game night game that just gets people open and laughing, and like Lydia's concern about not trusting Logan because Logan's so conniving. When I'm playing Cockroach Poker, I'll go through it a lot of times and I'll memorize like the top 5 cards of my deck.
Don't give away your secrets.
I just start throwing out those cards. I know what they are, and so then when I'm bluffing or I'm not bluffing, it's always great. Especially if you have to do it in rapid fire, because people are like, there's no way that is what you're saying it is. They'll believe it the first couple of times, and then they're like, nope. And they're like, how is that? Cockroach Poker is great.
So I missed out on the first half of BryceCon because I had to work, and then I had to drive down by myself, which also was not near as fun as having company. The day that was able to go, we did a marathon Harry Potter where we played all 7 years of Harry Potter back to back. It was epic. It was tons of fun. We had Logan jump in at some point. Dave jumped in and out. But man, we had a blast. Doug played the entire time. Will played the entire time with us. So one seat that kind of bounced in between people. But we also got a chance to bust out Sleeping Gods. We didn't get to play a whole lot. Will kind of wanted to get a taste of it to see if he liked it. And I think he enjoyed it. I forgot how good that game is. I think it's kind of been pushed on the back burner because we have so many campaign games going. Maybe now that we're...
What?
Well, we just
As
started...
I look to the right and see the 12 boxes of Solomon Kane.
Well, I was going to say, now that we're done with Descent Legends of the Dark, but then again, we just started Seafall and Solomon Kane's also in works, so we probably won't start Sleeping Gods for a while. But we did also start Tome Saga this month, because we are hosting that for SaltCon. Decided to run through it. The West Kingdom games are so great.
They are great. I mean, I really love the Raiders of the North Sea. I've only played some of these other ones in the Tome Saga series, the Paladins, Architects, Viscounts, a couple of times, maybe once. So we played with Architects, And I had played, I think at SOCCON 2018 was the last time I played that game. Really no clue what I was doing. And I just demolished everybody.
You destroyed us.
In that game. And it was rather ironic to me that I was doing so well. Played the next round, which is Paladins. We played with Andy, you, me, and Corey. Corey whooped us. He didn't get an epic victory.
Yeah, he and I were pretty close, actually.
I was surprised that I went from being mighty victorious the first time to being less than...
Stellar?
Yeah, I was going to say less than pathetic, but it was pretty bad how my turnout for Game 2. So I'm excited to see how Game 3 turns out, though.
And it surprised me that you didn't do better than you did, considering Planesholm Saga, you had so many more extra benefits for Paladins because you did so well in Architects. The way it works is you get more bonuses, more special abilities that you get to use for the next game, and you had far more than any of the rest of us, so I thought you were going to demolish us.
I was hoping to.
Really surprised me that not only you did not demolish us, but you came in last. I was shocked.
Yeah, I felt good at first, and then I look over at Corey's board, and he'd pulled off so many things off of his board. You guys are playing a different game than I am.
It'll be interesting to see how everything plays out with the last one. Haven't done that one yet, so I'm excited to get Viscounts to the table. Got one of my Kickstarters. Actually got 3 Kickstarters in January. We got to play one of them. I got to play Petrichor. Kind of interesting. I got it along with all the expansions. Petrichor's been out for a while, but they came out with new expansions, and that's when I backed it. You're putting rain clouds on the board and trying to put your water droplets in and water certain plants, and it has a little area control element to it, depending on during the harvest phase. You count who has the majority of the droplets, and you're going to score so many points, and then you count who's in second, and they score a certain number of points. The board is modular. It's just tiles when you set it up. The board will change every time, especially with all the content that they have out now, with all the expansions. The board will change. I mean, there's tons and tons of different combinations, different ways to play with all the content, but I need to bring that to game night. We need to play that. We got to play Dinosaur World at Doug's, and that was fun.
I actually thoroughly enjoyed that. It was quite the improvement from Dinosaur Island was the last one we played. I thought it was fantastic. Don't even think I won, but it was just a fantastic adventure.
I thought they did a good job on that game. We finally got to play our starter Pathfinder RPG. Loads of fun. Logan's GMing that for us. Actually, the last 2 game nights at my place, we've played Pathfinder.
My first real-time GMing, and so it's been quite an adventure for everybody trying to discover Pathfinder 2.0 system and me doing that. But I think the role-playing that we have is fantastic. It's a good group.
Yeah, it's been fun. All of us have, we've played 3.5 for the most part. We've played a little bit of 5.0 of D&D, but we've never done, ventured into Pathfinder at all. So it's been a learning experience for sure to learn the system and how everything works, and there are definite differences. It's been fun. It's a fun world.
If you ever get the chance to role play with Doug, do it. He has been so fun. I really hope that he creates a character and gets involved in our other games that we have going.
Which is great, because one of his highlights has been when he plays games with us like Descent and the random voices that we come up with for the random characters. So that's a big compliment to Doug, is that we can keep up with that sort of compliment ourselves.
So those are my gaming highlights. It's been a great gaming month.
So BryceCon, I played 14 new games to me, which was awesome.
Oh, I forgot about how awesome it was for you, like new games to you. That was a huge thing.
Yeah.
We played Oceans, a bunch of other games that we've played through our other game nights, but we finally played with you.
Oceans, Railroad Inc., Red Rising, Sleeping Gods, So Clover. We've already talked about those. And one that I've had for a while, but was really excited to play, really excited to take home to play with my wife, was Trails of Tucana. It's a flip and right game, making paths across the island of Tucana. It's a great, simple game that my wife and I have really enjoyed playing. Medium was hilarious. We also did get a chance to play The Hunger, which a lot of people are comparing to Clank. I don't really see it there, but there is some similarities.
Same aspect of your diving and you're coming back out. So it's loosely the same, but it's not. It's the same thing with Outer Rim and Firefly. It's not like one replaces the other, but they are similar-ish.
I don't think that's a fair comparison. It's too linear to be compared to Clank, in my opinion.
Clank has a lot more diversity in the paths that you can take, the artifacts that you can go after.
Thematically, I think the Hunger is way better.
Definitely falls under Logan's category, being of the horror theme. Players are vampires raiding the village during the night to try to attack and consume as many of the villagers, nobles, doing all this raiding, trying to gather all the points and make it back to the castle before daylight. Teaching Corey this game the other day, it was just he and I for a time, so we were playing The Hunger. We both got dusted because we were a long ways away from the castle by the time the game ended. I made another round to the tavern instead of going back towards the castle, and I didn't realize there was only 2 turns left. And so, even if I had not gone to the tavern and tried to head back to the castle, I still don't think I would have made it. Corey was on the boat still, on a mad dash to try to get back. It's a great game. It is a deck builder where it does have some of those similarities where you're building the deck.
I actually don't believe with the term that it's a deck builder. It's a deck clogger.
Yeah, that could be for sure. But you have the opportunity to buy those power cards in there too, those vampire power cards. I think it's a very fun game. It's very simple to actually teach, but it takes a little bit to master it. You always think you can push yourself further than you can. It's a good game to challenge yourself. Cascadia was another fun one that I played. Creating an ecosystem where you're trying to gather points by placing animals. There's bears, elk, eagles, or hawks. I can't remember what it was. Foxes, salmon. Each time you play the game, the way you score points is going to be different. Sometimes you want your foxes to be surrounded by other animals, but not any foxes. Your bears are always solitary animals, but you want them to be... The challenge in this game where you're also scoring points for your terrain, who has the most contiguous terrain, is going to get points from that. Cascadia has a great opportunity to be something my wife will enjoy. Have you guys played that?
No.
It's one I'd like to play, but I haven't played it yet.
I think I was the only one that played with you, and it was one that I definitely need to pay attention more to how the animals are scored. Understand it at the beginning of the game, but 40 minutes later, for me, what this big struggle was the hawks. And I think I even remember asking, hey, does this work? And people were like, oh, yeah, of course it works. It didn't.
Yeah,
I lost a lot of points.
Yeah, no one understood it until we went over it and started to go through the scoring. We're like, oh, yeah, that doesn't work at all. We also got a chance to try The Adventures of Robin Hood, which isn't necessarily a legacy game. However, it's kind of a set story game. It does have a little bit of a downside to me that it doesn't have enough, it isn't open enough to make your own choices. This is set. You have to explore it. I've only played the introductory game, so maybe later in those games there might be some more of that exploration that's on your own.
Yeah, I'm going to reserve judgment at this point. This is a game that I was really, really, really looking forward to, really excited to play, and I felt really let down that first time. It's not my final judgment.
I'm right in that same boat with you. I was a little bit disappointed that it just didn't allow for enough exploration. So as always, we do tend to explore our highlights quite a bit, but it's an opportunity to talk about games out there that we've played. So we don't feel too bad about spending a lot of time on that, but we're done.
Thank you, boss.
We get to talk about new games coming out now, right?
Yes, let's talk about some new games coming out.
After half a year of daylight, we must now prepare for the dark season. The roads will be treacherous, but they will still need to be braved by a select few in order to keep our cities thriving. In Merchants of the Dark Road, you are one of these brave few merchants that travel the dangerous paths between cities. While the job is perilous, fame and fortune await. Discover the capital city where most of your actions will take place using a rondel action system. Collect and produce items to add to your caravan, or sell these items to local heroes and hire them to travel with you. Manipulate the market price of items, visit the back alley sellers, or delve a nearby dungeon for magical items to gain the potential for even more coin and notoriety. Gather lanterns to ease your passage along the dark roads as you guide your caravan to distant villages. Deliver goods and heroes to the best destinations and gain fame for your bravery. Balance the money you earn with the height of your fame, because your final score after the number of game rounds will reflect the lowest of these two values. After all, what good is a purse full of coin if the people don't sing songs about you? And what good is a song with an empty mug of ale? I have been looking at this game on and off once it got announced. It's got some worker placement aspects to it, dice rolling, contracts, an exploration element to it, which, we all like the exploration type games anyway. The rondel and the follow actions as well, which
I think more games should use rondels.
I do too, and I really like the follow actions, kind of like Puerto Rico. And it's rated 7.7 on BGG, which is great. This releases this year, is designed by Brian Schur.
Korra, Rise of an Empire is a new one that's out. A 2 to 4 player game, plays in about 75 minutes. Released through Yellow Games. In Korra, Rise of an Empire, each player is the head of a blossoming city-state in ancient Greece. On your turn, you must take 2 of the following 7 actions: philosophy, legislation, culture, trade, military, politics, or development. Choose actions that align with your strategy, but also work with your dice roll. You will need to adapt your strategy consistently and strengthen your actions by moving your markers up on your economy, culture, and military tracks. Move up on the taxes track to collect highly sought-off drachmas, the troop track to explore and gather knowledge, tokens, and glory track to capitalize on your knowledge. This game has all sorts of tracks going on it, and this is a game that I'm pretty sure I don't ever want to play with Dave because he will just mop the floor with me.
You'll still have fun.
That's how I feel about Oceans. Dave would have too many choices and his brain would malfunction, and 3 hours later we'd finish the game. And he would still win.
I agree. I think Dave will take a long time in Oceans because there are tons of options. I think Dave will like Oceans quite a bit. But I think this game, Dave, has your name all over it.
That one definitely has me excited already, just looking at it here in the last few minutes. Other one that has me excited is called Cosmogenesis. It's a 2 to 4 player game, plays in about an hour. Its weight on BGG is 2.64, so it doesn't look too crazy difficult to learn how to play, but I like the theme. It sounds pretty cool. It's a game where each player is creating their own planet system. You start from a star and an asteroid belt. To do this, they use elements available on the different sections of the central board. In each round, you obtain one element from each of the 4 sections over 4 turns. With these elements, form planets and moons, and then these will collide with each other, causing them to increase in size, developing rings, and form atmospheres. The theme of it sounds pretty cool to me. Totally something that I would love to try. And looking at the game, looking at the components and stuff like that, it looks pretty cool too. Cosmogenesis is one, if you have played it, I would love to get some feedback on any of the ways which we mentioned earlier that you can get in touch with us. Let us know. Let us know your opinions of Cosmogenesis.
This is a game I don't think Dave will like. The main mechanism in this is race.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, it depends on what it means by race, but yeah, you're right. You might hear the line,
This isn't a race for the galaxy, you guys.
at least once.
Another one that I am interested in is Night of the Ninja. This is a 4 to 11 player game. Playing time of 15 to 30 minutes. Designed by Justin Gray, published by Brotherwise Games. Night of the Ninja is a fast-paced game of deadly secrets, midnight assassins, and paper-thin alliances. Your mission is to defeat a rival ninja house. If you can figure out who they are, each round you choose your ninja role. A spy, fortune teller, but only a shinobi or a blind assassin can cut down an opponent to win. You'll have to trick your opponents, figure out who can't be trusted, and fight for your house. Kind of a play on Werewolf. It's going to be kind of that kind of style of game. I enjoy these social games. I'm interested to see how this pans out. Team-based play means you can win honor even if you die, as long as your house prevails. I'm interested in this game. No secret that I enjoy social deduction games. I'm excited for this, and that's Night of the Ninja.
Dune, a game of conquest and diplomacy. This is a new one, a new Dune game. I've really enjoyed Dune Imperium, so I'm kind of excited that they're coming out with another Dune. You take part in one of the most famous science fiction stories of all time. It builds on 40 years of development, refinement, and evolution from the original classic game. It is the same beloved DNA, flavor, tension, and themes, but the new game board design, more spice, new streamlined rules, and a new market deck from which you can purchase game advantages. Also, brand new 2-player mode really opens up new gaming opportunities, all making the game more accessible for even the most casual gamer. In Dune, you will take control of one of the 4 great factions, House Atreides, House Harkonnen, the Fremen, and the Imperium. all vying to control the most valuable resource in the universe, melange, the mysterious spice only found at great cost on the planet Dune. Ship your forces to Dune, harvest spice, seize control of strongholds, and destroy your enemies. Who will control Dune? You decide. The game is played multiple phases, some of which you don't have player-specific actions, like in the spice phase. A spice below card is drawn and spice is added to the board in 2 territories, or else a sandworm attacks the last 2 territories where spice was placed. But on the card phase, each player draws up to a hand of 4 battle cards, then may purchase market cards up to a hand size of 3 for 2 spice each. On the shipping and movement phase, players take turns adding forces to their board and then moving forces on the board that each player's faction has. The game plays 3 to 5 rounds. Starting on round 3, the game can end if a player occupies 3 strongholds at the end of the round. If no one occupies 3 strongholds at the end of round 5, then the player with the most spice wins. Each stronghold they occupy counts as 5 spice. Interesting, I've heard a lot of people that were really excited because they really enjoyed the original Dune game. I have never played it. I don't know if it's necessarily right up my alley. There's a lot of direct conflict, it sounds like, which is not necessarily my cup of tea, but there are games that have that I've really enjoyed. It'll be interesting to try this one out.
So Corey read the rules for us on that, and so we're
awesome.
ready to play that. But he wasn't very excited to play it. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so hopefully we can get it to the table, at least get it sampled for sure. But I'm excited for it, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, and you're a huge fan of the Dune universe anyway.
I've read most of the
That's
books
gotta
now, so that it does help. There's been a slew of Dune games that have come out. It makes me hesitant, right, because they're not all going to be winners.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And Dune Imperium's been great. Corey and I got to play Dune Imperium with the Rise of Ix expansion. That changed the game quite a bit. I actually really liked that. That provided a whole new feel to the game, changing some of the locations, adding the new sideboard. It made a big difference in the game.
Yeah, it looked like it was fun. I came in about halfway through that and watched you guys play it. Really enjoyed the base game, so I'm excited to try the expansion as well.
Last message. There's a victim, for some reason, is struck dumb, but can still draw. And so the whole premise of the game is to try to point towards the actual criminal who committed the crime. And so they're doing pictures. It kind of looks like a little bit of like, where's Waldo-ish? There's a lot of people that it could be. It's an interesting concept. If you can get through 4 rounds and not figure it out, then the criminal gets away. And if the victim, who is only able to draw, can draw a line towards the person that did the crime, then they win. It reminds me a little bit of Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. If it's anything like Deception, I think it's going to be a fantastic game, so I'm more than willing to try that out.
We'll have to get that off the shelf. Another one that anxious to get played, Rolling Realms. 1 to 6 player, 30-minute. It's a real simple game. Players are playing a series of 3 mini games over 3 rounds. It's a roll and write game. Players are trying to collect stars, and at the end of the 3 rounds, whomever's collected the most stars will win the game. It's a dice rolling, dry erase marking game. A lot of little components that I think is going to make a fun game. I'm looking forward to that, and that's Rolling Realms, designed by Jamie Stegmaier, published through Stonemaier Games.
Rolling Heights, a Kickstarter. Suggest going and checking it out. It's a game that includes a lot of awesome mechanics. It is a city building game and a dice game and a deck, bag, and pool building game where you're going to push your luck a little bit and you're going to have some end game bonuses. In this game, it looks like you're going to roll your meeples instead of just regular dice, which that's kind of cool. It's the 1920s. Your career as a general contractor is about to take off.
What, in the rolling 20s?
Yips.
And you're rolling meeples?
Yes. You roll your workers in the form of meeples. Standing meeples are going to be hard at work to provide special actions and building materials, while face-down meeples provide nothing. You can push your luck to get better rolls, but you might end up losing valuable materials that you need in order to construct new buildings. It looks pretty cool. The artwork looks pretty fun. Some cool components. You're building a city, and it's going to be 3-dimensional. It looks pretty cool.
Bringing in that pass the pig element, adding that rolling element into the game.
Yeah.
There is a new pirate game on Kickstarter. Just a little over a week left to back this. It is called Captain's Log. It's a sandbox board game for 1 to 4 players, where you will be in charge of a ship from the colonial period, and you will compete against other players to become the most famousest captain of all. A unique aspect of this game is that you can set a lower victory point limit for a shorter game and a higher victory point limit for a more complete experience. Either way, you will find yourself immersed in your own epic adventure, exploring the open ocean and encountering the many rewards and dangers that lie ahead. Actually looks pretty cool. There's lots of different tiles that you can play when you're exploring. Has little ship miniatures, a kraken that's going to be involved in this. A couple different game modes. There's the standard mode, and there is also the expert mode. Overall, it looks like a good game, and it's pirate themed. Awesome.
How could you go wrong?
It would be difficult to go wrong.
Excellent. That is our news for the month of February. There's a whole bunch of games that we talked about. Hopefully there were some that were highlights to you or suggestions that you might be interested in. If there's a game that you feel we missed, feel free to let us know about it at meeplenation@gmail.com.
Until next time.
We'll see you at the game table.
Good night, Jody.
As always, we want to thank you for listening.
Check out our website. We have all sorts of cool things there. Love those blogs. Get a deeper look into the writing side of Meeple Nation.
Join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. I look forward to seeing you there.
Follow us on Twitter @Meeple Nation. We also have Instagram.
Under the same name. We also want to thank our sponsor, GameToppersLLC.com.
We love their product, and they have so much goodness out there.
And we also want to thank Brain Detergent for our music.
This week, we are talking about our January news. January was a great month.
Is it January or February?
I don't know, it says January.
I believe I read February at the beginning, so...
This week, we are going to discuss our February news. February was a great month. Tune in next week.
Oh, wow,
Sorry.
Dave.
Yeah.
I firmly support how great February was for you.
Now-
If you would like to blink with Dave, tune into the rest of our podcast.
And
me?
yeah, you were in the we.
Oh, okay.
It was you and I were the we. We're always the we.
Dune, a conquest. Dune, a game of conquest and diplomacy, all making the game more accessible to even more.